Hello, good afternoon and welcome, or good morning wherever you are. My name is Anne-Marie McCormack and I am the broker at McCormack Realty and Renters Choice Homes in Kissimmee, Florida. And we get a lot of questions from people wondering what we do and what property management is all about and all kinds of good stuff. So I thought today we'll just start off with some nice basic routine questions on property management. And as this is the first live video that we've done, please let me know if you've joined us in the comment box so that I know who's here, so I can say hello to you. That would be awesome. Okay, so, what should a good property manager do? Well, you bought a home in the Central Florida area, and you live maybe hundreds or even 1,000 miles away. You could live in the UK, you could live in Europe, South America, wherever. You're going to need somebody that is going to be your eyes and ears and is going to take care of that property just as well as you would if you were here. So whether you're going to buy it for short-term rental purposes or long-term rental, which are yearly lets, or whether you just want somebody to take care of it because you're going to keep it for your second home, you're going to need somebody on the ground in Central Florida to do that for you. Now, property management companies vary based on all kinds of factors. There's mom and pop property management companies that may live in the neighborhood of where your home is, and these are unlicensed. These are just licensed under Chapter 509. So these are quite common if you have a short-term rental home. Now, a short-term rental home, aka a vacation home, aka holiday lets, is something that people come and spend their vacations in. It's tastefully furnished to the highest standards, and it needs to be cleaned after each guest departs. And whether or not somebody is in the home, you still have your cable bill, you still have your phone bill, your water bill, your electricity bill, your internet bill, all those things, your pool bill, the lawns, the association, whatever. You're going to have to pay all those bills regardless of whether your home is occupied or not. I tend to think of those types of homes as being a bit like a Lexus or a boat. One owner told me one time that the best days in his life were the day that he bought his short-term rental home because he thought he'd absolutely done the best thing ever, and then it didn't work out the way in which they expected it to. So the second best day in his life was the day when he sold it, because then he didn't have to keep dipping into his savings and subsidizing its running costs. So that's the one thing that you all need to understand. Short-term rentals, even though you've got millions of visitors coming to Central Florida every single year, there's a lot of competition for those heads-on beds and for those vacation homes. And in school holidays, everybody does well. But outside of school holidays, everybody struggles, and quite often you get into a price war and discounts and price cuts to try and get the business around that is there. So that's one kind of rental. Now, with the short-term rentals, you need a property manager that's going to be on call 24/7, 365 days a year. Because if you have guests in your home on Christmas Day, and the internet goes out or the air conditioning isn't working, they need to be able to call somebody in order to fix it. Somebody has to go out to them on that day. It is very time consuming, it is very demanding, and most short-term rental property managers, they burn out because they try to do everything nice and right and perfect. I mean, we was in that industry for 14 years before I gave it up. So I know how difficult it can be trying to be a short-term rental manager. You have to please the homeowner. The homeowner wants as much rent as possible. Yay! There's also sales and resort tax that has to be paid. If you're in England, that's equivalent to VAT on every single vacation. And then there is also the cleaning to be paid on it. There's commission to be paid on it. So based on what somebody actually pays and what you receive could be 25-30% different depending on whether sales and resort tax were included in the rental or not and how much commission your property manager charges. If you're going to do your own bookings, then obviously you can keep 100% of that minus the sales and resort tax and any fee that your short-term rental property manager may charge you for servicing that particular booking. Don't forget, they still have to be on call, whether it's their booking or your booking. And if somebody calls them up at 6 o'clock in the morning and says it's an emergency, and they need to know now because they're only here for a few days, somebody's on call. That time has to be paid for. Not all guests are rude and would call people at 6 in the morning. But I mean, we used to have guest callers at 11 o'clock at night and saying, oh, well, we thought there'd be 200 channels on the TV and there's only 70. So we're a little disappointed and we want to move. So you just never know what your guests are going to be talking about, what they're going to want to find out about, and who they're going to need to talk to. And some of them have unrealistic expectations. If it rains, you will find, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the complaint ratio on your property goes up. Okay, so if you're getting more than 5% of complaints, then you definitely have a problem with either your home, its furnishings, its equipment, or you have a problem with your property manager. And like I said, out of those 5% of complaints, 2.5% of them should be down to the weather. Because most people, when they book a holiday for Florida, they expect sunshine. If they didn't get sunshine, they start looking around for reasons to claim some kind of refund. We've had guests say all kinds of things over the years. We've had them say, oh, we're from France and we needed 5 saute pans and there was only 2 frying pans and 4 regular pans in the entire home. Okay, well, that's not a reason to get a refund. We've had them say things like, oh, the tree overshadowed the pool area, so we couldn't get sunshine. So, then we've got to send them their tour operator, their travel agent, or the owner, whoever has placed that booking. We have to send them a letter and a photograph stating that, even though this sapling tree that is 20 foot tall and maybe 50 foot away from the pool deck, even though it's that small and that tiny, and there's no possible way it could cause a shadow, we're really sorry that they didn't feel that the pool area lived up to their expectations. I mean, this is all time to write these letters. Sometimes people have valid complaints. They might call up and they might say, oh, the toilets are blocked. And it might not have been them putting anything down it at all. It could be down to the fact that roots from your bushes or your trees outside have pushed into the piping and created damage so that the soil gets into the pipes and it travels upwards, so then all the drains are blocked. So, somebody has to be on call for that. Time is money. So I think short-term rental managers charge a little more for their services because they need to in order to cover their time involved. So if you have any further questions about short-term rental property management, you can always give me a call, or you can send me an email or send me a message on this page, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. I can ask specific questions about your exclusive property manager because I probably won't know them. So, but I can answer general questions about your property manager. I also wrote a book on short-term rentals, which I published in 2014, and I'd be quite happy to send you via email the book that I wrote on short-term rentals. Okay, now we're going to switch gears just a little bit, and we're going to talk about long-term rentals. So when you've bought a home for a long-term rental, traditionally that home is unfurnished. People have their own furniture. In some areas in Europe, people want to rent furnished homes, and they do like 6 months leases at a time. That's not the same in Florida. In Florida, they do yearly leases. Anything under 6.5 months, you have to pay sales and resort tax. And let's face it, you don't want anybody there under a year because it's going to cost you to change people over. A long-term rental is a tenant and they're going to live in the home just like you would. So they go to work, they come home, they have kids, they have pets sometimes. So, it's a real life family. It's not like renting to a short-term family. who's going to stay there for a week or two and be out at Disney most of the time and be out eating at restaurants. These people are actually going to use the home, and it is going to get normal wear and tear, just like the home that you live in. So there's a big difference there. Now, sometimes people ask me, would I rent a home to people with furnishings in them? The answer to that is I don't think it's a good idea. If you're a short-term rental homeowner and you're thinking about trying a long-term rental, then why not put your furnishings in storage for a year or two to see how it goes? I mean, I understand that you've paid 20, 30,000 for that furnishings, but if they're 10 years old, how much wear is actually left in them, even for short-term rentals? So these are some of the things to consider. I would never store your beds, never store your soft furnishings, but I would definitely store all the rest of your other stuff if you're just going to give long-term rentals a try for a year or two. If you've got to the point where you're not coming to Florida anymore, but it isn't time to sell and you really want something that's going to give you a positive return on your investment, then long-term rentals is probably what you're looking for, because you know every month what you're going to be getting. Okay, your property might be getting a little older and there might be some repairs from time to time, but a tenant isn't going to call your property manager up and say, hey, can you send somebody out here to change a light bulb? Could you give us batteries to replace in the remote control for the TV? It's not that kind of thing at all. You know, these people live there and they tend to do little bits and bobs for themselves, just like you would in your own home, you know. If there's something that they can't fix, let's say the waste disposal's jammed and the reset button doesn't work, and maybe it's because the motor's gone in it. Yeah, then they'll call the property manager and the property manager will arrange for somebody to come out, see if they can fix it. If they cannot fix it at that point, then they're going to have to arrange for a replacement. And because these people live here full time, they probably go to work too. So the property manager will have to arrange and coordinate the repair person around the tenant's work schedule, unless the tenants have been there for quite some time and they're very familiar with the maintenance man and they don't mind him going in when they're not home. But most people want to be home when somebody comes in to fix something. It's just like you when you're at your home and somebody comes and we go, oh, we have to fix your washing machine, or we have to fix your air conditioning. You'd want to be home, and so do they. So we try and make sure that everybody's accommodated without costing our homeowners extra call-out fees. We find that some of our service professionals are very easy to work with around the tenant schedules. So when you're interviewing a long-term property manager, they should be a licensed real estate brokerage. They should come under Chapter 475, which is the standard Florida Real Estate Commission. They should have licenses, they should have a broker's license. Your funds should be held in a broker's escrow account. Security deposit should be held in a broker's escrow account. And they should have experience in long-term rentals. Sometimes owners say, well, my short-term rental manager said he could do it and his realtor friend will write up a lease for us. And it's like, oh my God, that is a recipe for disaster. It's kind of like expecting or asking an electrician to go fix your plumbing problem. Maybe the electrician's really good at it. Maybe he picks things up really quickly. Or maybe the electrician doesn't know the first thing about changing out the toilet. But he'll have a go at it, and it might cost you more money in the long run. The nightmares that people talk about when they say, oh, I rented my property out long term, we tend to find that when they come to us and we investigate it, 9 times out of 10, now are you ready for this? They rented it through a short-term property manager who had next to no experience in long-term rentals and did not have a real estate license in order to do that. They hired a realtor to do the lease, and it was a standard lease, which we don't use. And they did the rentals themselves, and then they stated that they put the escrow in the homeowner's account. But there are so many rules regarding escrow deposits and advance rent deposits under Florida law. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. I would not do that. No, leave your short-term manager to do the short-term rentals if that's what they're good at, and find a good long-term property manager to do property management for you if you're going to go on long-term rentals. And if you have any doubts about it or you want to ask me any more questions, I'm only too happy to help. Now, when you have a property manager, you want to ask them, how many units do you manage? You know, if they manage 3 or 4 units, or if they manage 100 units, you know, that's a difference of service. If they're managing 3 or 4 long-term rentals, how much actual experience hands-on do they have? If there is a problem, or if the tenant doesn't pay the rent on time, will they know what to do, and will they follow through? Will they be contacting that tenant and say, hey, you are late with your rent, we need you to pay, or we'll have to hand it over to the attorney's office? You have to be strict with tenants. Owners need, the owners that come to us anyway, they need their rent in order to pay things like their property taxes, their homeowners association fees, their repair bills that are ongoing. Sometimes, you know, they've got to save up for that new roof, save up for their air conditioner, and they also have to pay a mortgage in most cases. So the rent coming in is vital for that homeowner in order to be able to pay their bills and cover their overheads. So it's important that the tenants pay the rent on time, and it's important that you have an experienced property manager that will actually collect that rent for you and make sure it's deposited and clears. About maybe 3 years ago, we had a lady join us, and she had been renting a property long-term with a short-term property manager. And she says, I have a very unusual problem, and I'm hoping you can help me. And I says, oh, okay, so tell me what your problem is. She says, the property manager states that the tenant has cancer and that they will not collect rent from somebody that has cancer. So I said, okay, all right, well, give me your tenant's name and address. Let's get all these details down. So we did a little hunting and a little investigation, and did a little Facebook snooping, and we found this tenant sunning themselves on Cocoa Beach. Well, anybody that's having chemotherapy knows that you're not allowed to go out and sunbathe in the beach. So we told the lady, and we said, look, if you want us to take you over, we'll take you over. I said, you need to fire your other manager, you need to hire us, and we'll need to start a strict regime to get this rent collected or take the appropriate action against the tenant. Because at this point, I think the tenant hadn't paid the rent for about 5 months. So we took the property over, we contacted the tenant. The tenant told us, yes, I've got cancer, I can't work, I can't pay the rent, I can't do this. So we gave the tenant a list of charities that help people with severe health conditions, that will help fund them and help them out financially. And we also asked the tenant for doctor's notes and doctor's letters verifying that indeed that she was seriously ill with cancer. Obviously none was forthcoming. So we served her with a 3-day notice, which is, you know, deliver your rent or leave. She ignored that, so it got passed over to our attorney's office, and she left just before the eviction had to be finalised in court. And that house was a disgrace, the way that she left it. It really, really was. I've had other tenants that have been with us for 8 years or more. You know, they move into a home, they love the home, they think of it as their home, they know that the owner is a long-term investor and isn't going to be selling it from under them anytime soon. And as long as they pay their rent on time, they're going to have a really nice place to live. And, you know, they can move out after 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, and it might even look like nobody ever lived there. Or you might need to repaint the inside. You might need to change the carpets. You know, it all depends on what's happening with your property as opposed to what you need to do, okay? Some people come to us and they go, oh, my home's only 15 years old. You know, I don't think it needs painting. Well, if you looked at these homes sometimes and you take photographs, and when we take a home on board, we photograph everything with date stamps so we know what can't speak, can't lie. You know what we're doing, and you'll get a link to our Dropbox so that you can click on about 30 something photos of your home taken from every different angle so that you can see what's right with your home and what's wrong with your home. And then from that point, we'll make a decision about what we feel is necessary for you to go forward. And a good property manager should do these things for you. When we do long-term rentals, if you're on the fully inclusive program, which we call our executive program, we don't charge a management fee when the property is vacant. If you have a pool, it still has to be serviced. If you have a lawn and it's not included in your HOA fees, that still has to be cut. We charge you for those things. That's a given. But we don't charge you a management fee if the home is vacant and you're allowing us to show it at a fair market rent. So for instance, if we tell you that your fair market rent for your home is $1,500 and you want $2,000, well, we'll try and get $2,000 for you, but we'll also be charging you $99 a month because it's probably going to be several months empty while we're trying to find somebody that's going to pay 25% more than fair market value. Everybody knows what the places should rent for these days, the same as they know what places should sell for, because there's Google, there's Realtor.com, there's Yahoo Real Estate, there's Zillow, there's all kinds of places where you can check out what people pay for rent in that particular area. So just because you might have a higher mortgage doesn't mean to say you're going to be able to get a higher rent. In most cases, if you stick out for that higher rent, what that means is that you end up with a higher risk tenant, and or perhaps a family that won't stay there more than a year. Maybe they're naive, maybe they didn't realize, maybe they'll pay over the top for year one, but year two they'll say no, we want a proper rate. This is the rate that we want to pay, otherwise we're going to be leaving. And it costs you money when people change over, because you're not going to get rent for a month. People move out on the 31st of the month, then we have to clean it, then we have to do any repairs, then we have to rephotograph, put it up for rent again. We may get somebody that wants to rent it within 3 days to 2 weeks if it's priced right. But then it's more than likely going to be the end of that month before they're going to be moving in. So that's all cost you. The cleans cost you, the vacancies cost you. So it's best to try and stick at a fair market rent and keep that same family in there for 3 to 5 years. We evaluate constantly what fair rental rates are. And yes, we like to raise the rent every year, a nominal amount, enough to keep it in line with what's happening in the neighbourhood and in the general area. And that's how, that's what we do. We also take really good care of our tenants, and we realise that bad things happen to good people once in a while. So somebody could be late once with the rent, but if they've got a really good reason, like they've had identity theft, or their payroll thing has changed with their work and it didn't go in, and they can show us proof, we'll work with them. If they don't have proof, then no, I don't think we're going to be working with them, because I think they're just giving us lip service and telling us something that they think they can fob us off. So we tend to get, we're like family with them, and just like family, you owe family money, they hunt you down. We will hunt them down, and we will talk to them, and we will serve them with the relevant documentation to make sure that they pay their rent. After all, we all have to pay our rent or our mortgages, don't we? So why should they be any different? They need to pay their rent on time. Now, some homeowners, after they've done long-term rental for about, 5 or 10 years, they think, okay, I'm at a point now where I could actually make a small profit if I sold my home. Can my property manager do that for me? Well, if they're a long-term property manager and they're licensed real estate brokerage, chances are they have a sales division. Like we do. We have the long-term property management and we have our sales. And under our sales, we'll sell your property. And if it's sold under our brokerage, we'll also sell it for you at a discount if we sell it direct to the public. Then we have our other little secret weapons that we use for selling our homes quicker and fetching a higher dollar than most people. But I'm not giving away my secrets on this first video. Okay. When we put properties up for rent or for sale, we have our high-ranking websites that we list them on. We list them on all the different websites like Trulia, Google, Yahoo Real Estate, Zillow, Realtor.com, wherever. They go everywhere, okay? And we screen people very, very carefully. We pre-qualify tenants. We want to make sure that their net income is a minimum of 3 times the rent. Okay, that net income, what I mean is after the taxes have been paid, after the car payments have been paid, after the child support has been paid, we want to make sure that that rent is easily affordable to them so that we don't have to worry about them paying the rent on time each month. We check their background, okay? So that means if they've been in prison for smoking pot or grievous bodily harm or some kind of physical assault or whatever, we want to know about it. If they did something when they was 18 and now they're 50 and they haven't offended in the meantime, chances are nothing ever's going to happen again. But we want to meet with them. We want to check them out. We want to see how we feel about them. Some of the bigger property managers now are doing these sophisticated showings where people get a code and they put this code in and the door will open for them and they can go and look at them themselves. I wouldn't want somebody in my house unattended, and I don't think you would want somebody in your house unattended, because half the way to pre-screen people is seeing how they are, seeing what the car looks like, seeing how they look like, seeing if they're well-mannered, polite, nice, talking to them, seeing if they feel that they're a good fit for that home, okay? And the one thing that we do on all applications that come in is we pre-look at them first to make sure that they qualify, and if they don't qualify, we won't run the credit and background. We'll just tell them, hey, sorry, you're not going to qualify for this home. I'm not going to charge you the application fee because we're not going to run the reports on you. We may have another home that they qualify for, but we're not going to charge people willy-nilly just because we can. We want to make sure that people are doing something that works for them and that we're spending our time screening people that are going to be a good fit for your home. And before we have our attorney draw up a lease, because we don't use office supply leases, we have individual leases for each and every home. So yours is written just for your home. We ask your permission. We say, hey, we've got these applicants. This is how much they're doing. This is what they're making. This is how long they've been in the area. And they seem a really good fit. And it's your decision at the end of the day because it's your home. Whether you want to lease to them or not. Well, I think that concludes this part of the broadcast for today. I've gone on for quite some time, and I hope you'll join us next week at this time when we'll be talking about insurance claims and what kind of insurance you need and what to do if a hurricane hits, whether you're a homeowner, a tenant, a rental property manager, or a rental owner. You will find this interesting. So come back and join us same time next week. That's going to be Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or 4 p.m. UK time. And have a great one, everybody. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.